Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the day one update to the Stormweaver Archmage character. Now, we're not Archmage, yes, full disclosure, I've had a lot of people ask me, where's the Archmage support gem? It's not a support gem anymore, it's actually a buff gem you activate and then it applies to all your skills. And it's not available until like level 50 something, it's a tier 14 gem. So initially we're just a basic caster. So I want to go over the basics real quick because there's a lot of questions I get from people. Is basically passive tree, support gems, those are the main ones, and then I'll go over a little bit of gameplay and what we're doing. So passive tree is first lab we went for Arcane Surge, second lab we're going to go for Arcane Surge effect. We're going to start leaning into scaling our mana up as much as we can. It does appear the EB is on the tree, so I may end up trying this out. And initially, the first thing I go for is essentially just as many damage nodes as I can. I didn't really get a good weapon early on, and this was my gateway into just trying to be a little bit viable in order to kill monsters. And right now we're in Act 3. Full disclosure, we've played, looks about like 7 hours. So 7 hours to get to level 35. You can decide whether or not that's good or bad, but this is where we're at. And we essentially went straight up, grabbed cast speed, grabbed lightning damage, early pen, early elemental damage. And the pen is just, this is a temporary thing. Ultimately, I'd like to end up getting a good exposure source plus conductivity, which I think should mean we shouldn't need pen on our tree at all. But initially, early on, when we don't have sources of conductivity, you don't get that until a level, I think it's a tier 7 gem or something. And before that, or after that, there's going to be enemies that end up having more than 40 res, because we have a curse that does about minus 40 res, and there's going to be enemies that resist more than that. So anyways, early damage, that's what we went for, and we didn't take these Arcane Surge effect nodes until we had permanent Arcane Surge. So that is the tree. Later on, I'm going to respec this, where I'm probably going to start focusing on a pathway going more through the top and then over this way. That involves getting essentially higher amounts of mana is the plan, and we're going to start leaning into maybe considering Mind Over Matter, Archmage, stuff like that. But right now, the initial setup was just to get percent damage. As for our gem setups, we have been using essentially two main gem setups. I've found I enjoyed Spark plus Orb of Storms the most, and I used a combination where I would put down the, I just realized I've clicked the move on. Hold on. Was the save? There might be some settings I need to adjust here. But anyways, I've been playing with Orb of Storms and Spark, and essentially what I do is I'd put down 2 Orb of Storms and then I'd start shooting sparks, and every time I'd shoot sparks, both of these Orb of Storms would hit the enemy and I'd be dealing damage. I found this to be a pretty good combination. I think there's other decent combinations you can do, like early on in Act 1 I was using Flame Wall with my Spark until I got Orb of Storms. You can decide what works for you, but so far I like these lightning spells. But really I'm excited about doing Ball Lightning and maybe a Cast on Shock with Lightning Conduit, which are just skills I have not unlocked yet. They will be available later on. If you look at the gem menu system, you can see I wanted to do a Cast on Shock gem, which I need Spirit for. And then eventually, once I have the Cast on Shock gem, I'll also be hopefully leveling up and getting Ball Lightning soon and some other skills like that. So that's where we'll start opening up the possibilities of skills we're going to try out. I'm going to test out a lot of them and see what works. I'll give you a little showcase of what it looks like going through this zone here. I'll show you where we are in Act 3. Yeah, along the... Well, opening up the map does take a bit, but yeah, this is where we are in Act 3. It's the Infested Barrens level 35 zone. I'm level 35, and I'll give you a little showcase of what it looks like. Real quick, gotta cut this in the video because I forgot. Support gems. For Spark, we are using both Arcane Tempo, which is basically faster casting, and Unleash, basically more casts, and Pierce. Pierce is just for clear. I did swap to increase duration or the persistence gem for bossing, but this is what I like the most for Spark. And then for Orb of Storms, I have Control Destruction and Overabundance for +1 limit. I did grab for my first +2 or my first tier 2 support gem, I grabbed Spell Echo because I thought it would work with Orb of Storms. It does not, so don't do that. Then for conductivity, we have Heightened Curse, which is just some curse effect, makes you get a better res curse. And then we have Skill Effect Duration, just to like make it last longer so you don't have to cast it and recast it. Mana Tempest I thought about using, but right now it just is hard to sustain. I don't quite have the mana generation for it, and I'm not sure I can work this in the build. It's getting a little bit too clunky button-wise, so I've been not doing that too much. And then we have Lightning Warp, which is basically something you can cast whenever you call, and this is just a little bit of a movement slash clearing additional thing to do. Arctic Armor is temporary. Gonna swap this out for Cast on Shock when I can afford it. So anyways, that is the character support gems. Hopefully that helped. Running through one of these zones. I don't really know where I'm supposed to be going, to be honest. I just found this waypoint at the very end last night. I was just looking for Basically, I was just looking for a waypoint to be like, okay, I made some progress, and then feel like I did. Right now, this is pretty much what we do. We come up to monsters, we put down our orb storms, and we just start casting our sparks. And that's worked decently for me. It's been a little bit of basically maneuvering around boss fights. I have to say, PoE 2 is a lot different than PoE 1. It plays a lot more. You have to think about what you're doing. You can't just run and gather up, you know, a huge horde of enemies, because eventually they will just start to overwhelm you because you've gathered too many of them. There's too much, like, you get surrounded and taken out, so you have to be a little bit more tactful, a little bit more careful. And right now we have to accept that fact that we're not on the excess amounts of power where we can get away with being a little bit ridiculous here. That's kind of a long load screen, so hopefully failed to join instance. I wonder if they're having server issues right now. I went to bed and I hadn't had any zone connection issues, so outside of the first like 2 hours of not being able to get in, after that I didn't experience any DCs. So hopefully we're good now and they're getting it figured out. I think outside that late start, things have been good for me. Hopefully it has been for you as well. I know there's probably been a few people that have had different issues and different bugs, but ideally they'll figure out what are the different issues people are having and get them patched. So anyways, yeah, this is our tree. I think what I'm going to end up doing next is probably start working on my way over to... I want to say I'm going to start working on my way over to changing this pathing around and doing a respec. So I might just start going to getting that stuff allocated right now. But yeah. Anyways, this is the update to the Archmage Stormweaver. I will be streaming it on Twitch and YouTube unless something goes wrong. Yesterday I had a crash that wasn't because of PoE 2, but because of Windows 11, and I think there's just an issue with Windows 11 24H2, where you can get your whole system to freeze in load screens and it crashes the whole PC. I'm fairly convinced it's because of that. Every time I've looked up the exact symptoms of the crash, the common denominator is pretty much always the 24H2 Windows update. So if you experience that where you freeze in a load screen and you have to force shut down just to get it out, that might be the problem for you. I just went through the day basically getting a fresh 23H2, the previous version installed. So hopefully this one works and I won't crash in the middle of the stream, so that way I can keep reliable uptime for those on YouTube and on Twitch, because when I've had crashes in the past, it is a bit scuffed getting the YouTube stream to pop up again. So hopefully I got that fixed. Anyways, I have no idea where I'm going. I guess I could have just taken a waypoint and just chilled, but I'm kind of like walking around aimlessly now. Anyways, I'm gonna end the video here and get to streaming. I'm not gonna mess out too much. I'm pretty sure if I log out, let me check this. Can I do this? Can I log out, log back in? It puts me right in the same area. I think it does. Let me check. It put me just exactly right where I was before. No, it doesn't. Okay. I wonder if they changed that. Previously, I felt like when you logged out, you log back in, it would put you right back in the same area. But this one didn't. That's okay. All right. I'm going to upload this to YouTube. Hopefully, this helps you if you're trying to make a Stormweaver caster character yourself. And I'm going to continue to update this tomorrow and hopefully each day giving updates and progression so you guys can follow along if you're interested in the build. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out. Have a good one.